This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, a major AEW name has left New Japan. A major WWE star will be sidelined for almost 2 months. And WWE keeps pay-per-views going international while they have interest in a major New Japan star. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to give you your full gear preview, break all of that down, take a look at what's taking place in AEW as well as WWE, and help me break it all down, sort through all the minutia. He's the one. He's the only. He is a sleepyhead today. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
For sure, but I'm going to be excited this evening. Man, full gear, can't wait. Let's get rowdy. Lots of good stuff. Get elevated, baby. Lots of good rumors, innuendos, lots of good talk regarding people moving around. Real interesting. News broke regarding a former female star that showed up at Ring of Honor. A lot of good shit happened this week. I thought the build-up to Full Gear was great. A lot of news made from AEW. A lot of news being made from WWE. They're not taking the sleepy route. They're going to finish the year off strong. And I think Survivor Series, War Games, and Full Gear, I think, have the potential to be very, very stellar in regards to the in-ring product and the storylines that are going to start getting answered and moving forward, man. I'm excited. Let's break it all down, bro.
Yeah, it really does feel like just before the Christmas holiday, pay-per-views are really ramping up, and both AEW, WWE are going full throttle. And WWE this week really have laid the foundation for the upcoming pay-per-view next week. They have really laid the groundwork for Survivor Series, for War Games, which is the match that's going to take place at Survivor Series. And look, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and it's cool when we get to kind of see ideas that we have play out. Drew reveals his true nature, and he ends up sidelining with the Judgment Day. Now, this isn't the story that we had told, but Drew is now the fifth member of the Judgment Day. He is going to go into the cage with the Judgment Day, and he is looking to wreak havoc on Cody, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn while they look for their fifth member. And we'll talk about their fifth member coming up here in a little bit. But Drew showing his true nature, joining the Judgment Day. What are your thoughts on this? This was kind of cool the way this played out. Cody and Jay are fighting for the tag team titles against Finn and Damian Priest, and Drew comes down and lays out Jay with a hellacious claymore, and goes up to the top of the ramp and ends up shaking Rhea Ripley's hand. And look, this was cool for a couple of reasons. I think this really does tell you who the real leader of the Judgment Day is. It is Rhea Ripley. She is the one who is orchestrating and pulling all of the strings. Like it is there. This has been an ongoing story within this faction, and we're going to talk about something Damian Priest said a little bit later about who the leader is. But it does go to show you that you may have guys out there, you may have soldiers in the ring battling things out, but there's one thinking brain in that group, and she is the one who is orchestrating everything. And you kind of get to see it at the end of Monday Night Raw. And I think Drew getting added to this team makes them that much more dangerous. Drew is a great wrestler. Drew is a great commodity in WWE. And I think this really helps boost the Judgment Day. What are your thoughts on Drew joining the team and how it was done?
Yeah, I thought that it really just told a natural story. It didn't feel forced, because why is Drew somebody that was a fan favorite? Why would he join the Judgment Day, or why would he align himself? Well, he will do anything to really, you started to see it over the last few months in the vignettes, especially when Jay started to come over to Raw. He's really frustrated that his ultimate goal, which it really does highlight the importance of winning a title, and I think that's really, really key, is that he was so upset losing at Clash at the Castle in a situation in which he was close to winning, and he feels the Bloodline is the key reason why he's not meeting his goals, and that frustration now coming on the heels of another title loss. I think it's absolutely perfect that he's so upset he doesn't care anymore about being a fan favorite, and it's a tried and true story in wrestling that, hey, your personal goals sometimes supersede what you care about in regards to fan support, and I think it's absolutely perfect in terms of his character development. That's how you keep a character fresh, is that you don't just have him be a face one day and then show up on Raw and then just kick someone's ass. This has been told and done the right way, and that's why it's believable. That's why it gets people excited.
Yeah, and look, this was a match that he had back at Clash of the Castle that he legit had won. But like we've seen with Roman Reigns, and look, LA Knight basically said it. The only reason Roman Reigns has had this run is because the Bloodline constantly interferes in his matches and constantly takes advantage of rules. So he has every right to be upset. And you're right, this does tell a natural story. It does not feel forced. This is really well done. This is really, really well done. And it's cool to see this because, like I said, it makes Judgment Day feel that much stronger. But Judgment Day, for a long time now, has kind of felt like the breakup is coming from within. It feels like Judgment Day, as strong as they are, they're still fragile. And you had some back and forth to open up Monday Night Raw this week, and you had Cody Rhodes really egg on the Judgment Day with who the leader was. So much so that Damian Priest broke, and Damian Priest ends up claiming to be the leader, saying, I'm the leader of the Judgment Day, which caused Finn Balor to kind of look at him with a side-eyed glance and be like, what are you talking about? You're not the leader. And it almost set up this group dynamic where everybody was going to start pointing fingers at each other within the Judgment Day. And at this moment in time, it really does feel like the breakup is coming. It feels like this could be the last match that we have with the Judgment Day. It could all unravel at War Games on Survivor Series. So what are your thoughts on Damian Priest basically going out there and now verbally saying that he's the leader? This is something that he has kind of alluded to being in the past. Never really came out and say it. To us, at least I think to you and me, it really feels like Rhea Ripley is the leader of that group, and what she kind of orchestrates kind of goes according to plan. But Damian Priest coming out and having conviction and looking in the eyes of everybody across the ring saying, I'm the leader of the group. What were your thoughts when he finally said that? And does it feel like this could be the last stretch for the Judgment Day?
Or it could be the ultimate when they figure out how to expand or how to run this thing to keep it going. Yeah, they're planting seeds, which is really good. And they're discussing ways in which, okay, there's fraction in the Judgment Day, which builds intrigue. Who is the leader? Is it Damian? Is it Rhea? And I just think that for Damian Priest, obviously, for him, he's in a situation in which he's being elevated and his character, and also, too, like anybody else, you battle confidence. You can't even lead your own group. I think the Cody promo definitely planted a seed of doubt, which in the storyline is really awesome, really excellent. And it goes to show you that Damian Priest is somebody that's been kind of now flushed out his character a little bit more. And that's what you're seeing in this new era, is that it's, a lot of times in the years past, I recall, you would complain and everybody would complain about, like, why is this shit happening? Well, now we're starting to see why stuff happens, and it plays into each other. Cody plants a seed of doubt in the Judgment Day, and now Damian needs to realize, okay, there's people out to get me. I got to get my shit done. And he's had a failed opportunity to cash in, and he's had taken a couple of tough losses. But now Damian Priest is trying to declare himself a winner, boost himself up, and try to get himself on the right side of things, facing Sami Zayn and facing others that are trying to challenge the Judgment Day. And I just think that for a faction, that's the way to go to kind of build intrigue and to keep things moving forward. It'll be real interesting to see what the Judgment Day looks like in 2024.
Yeah, well, it really will be interesting to see kind of how this group is comprised, because at this moment in time, JD McDonough finally gets accepted into the group. He is another member of them, and it does feel just as they are getting bigger and stronger, they may be getting smaller all at the same time. But sticking with the War Games men's battle royal or men's battle match, I'm not really sure how we would classify it because nobody's going over the top rope, but it is going to be a war. Cody, Seth, Sammy, and Jay still looking for their fifth member. I think Monday night when the show went off the air, and if you go online, you can find different snippets where Cody and Jay cut a promo in the ring and the crowd was chanting for Randy Orton. And early thoughts were that Randy Orton was going to be the fifth member. Well, if you watched Friday Night SmackDown, Cody makes an appearance on Friday night to come down to save LA Knight. So I think it now falls between Randy Orton and LA Knight. Who would be the better fifth member? Would it be Randy Orton or would it be LA Knight? Would be the better fifth member to complete the group of Cody, Seth, Sammy, Jay, and take on the guys in the Judgment Day, as well as Drew McIntyre? Who would you rather have?
Man, it's really tough because I think both really fit the bill, but I'm not sure. I think obviously the crowd sounds like they're very interested in having Randy return. LA Knight's super over. Man, that's a really tough situation because they're both even. But I think just in terms of relevancy right now, I think it's LA Knight. I think that obviously getting revenge on the bloodline would be very key. I think Randy Orton, just throwing him in there would kind of feel like that. Obviously, there's a connection with being a friend of Cody. I think the best way to do it is you introduce it as LA Knight. You get into the match, something happens, he gets taken out, Bloodline does some things. Oh no, we need a fifth member. Our fifth guy's plans is not there. And do we know anybody? And then it's Randy Orton to save the day. So maybe you get both at the same time. But I just think that LA Knight is right now the odds-on favorite. And then Randy Orton somehow or another, I guess the back channels everyone's hearing that he's going to be part of this in some way. So I can't wait to see it. And it's good because we've all heard and read about Orton's struggles with his back and the surgeries and all that stuff. So it's been a long-ass time since we've seen him in the ring. So I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I think LA Knight is hands down the best option here. Randy Orton coming off of a surgery where doctors have basically told him, don't ever get back in the ring. Don't ever do it. And this is a brutal match. This is a rough match to go. Somehow tables always get involved inside of a steel cage. And mind you, this is two rings trapped inside of a steel cage. There are chairs that are involved. There are weapons. This is basically a free-for-all where you are all pinned in a ring that covers two rings. So this is a nuts match, and this would be a crazy match for a guy like Randy Orton, I think, to come back in. I think LA Knight makes the most sense. And from a storyline perspective, I think LA Knight makes the most sense. He has interactions with both Sammy, Seth, Cody, and Jay. He's had them over the last couple of months. When we started kind of speculating who was going to be the fifth member, I believe it was Kenny who said it's going to be Randy Orton. I said, well, how do you make that storyline work, right? Like, I get it, but I feel like it's a stretch to make the storyline work. And you could do it, but again, you're stretching. You really have to work to make the Randy Orton angle work. Why do that? Why go through all of that when you can just do the LA Knight angle? The LA Knight angle seems to make more sense. He's a hotter wrestler. He is obviously in a better state of health. To me, LA Knight makes more sense being the fifth member. I think we find out this Monday, or we pretty much have to find out this Monday because the pay-per-view is taking place this upcoming Saturday. But I think you find out on Monday that LA Knight, he makes an appearance on Monday Night Raw, and he's the fifth member for War Games. I think it also gives you a little bit of stake in the game where you've got some crossover between your SmackDown wrestlers and your Monday Night wrestlers, because most of the time Survivor Series was Monday Night versus Friday night or SmackDown versus Raw, however you want to look at it. I think this gives you a little bit of stake for both programs. So if you only watch one program, well, LA Knight's one of your biggest stars on Friday night. Well, now he's involved in this pay-per-view. Now there's a reason for me to tune in and watch. There's a reason for me to see this. And I think you've seen this with the women's match, because you had Damage Control, who also has a very interesting story brewing. And you can kind of feel now, this is something that, again, we talked about last week. There's got to be a way to kind of slow play this Bayley on the outs with the rest of the group. Bayley felt like the complete odd woman out this week on Friday Night SmackDown. Bayley felt like she did not fit. And they're headed to War Games. They issued a challenge to Bianca, Charlotte, and Shotzi. They went around the entire ring, or they went around the entire building looking for women to join them as their fourth member. And as they did this, Damage Control just beat those women up all up until the very, very end, fresh off a historic appearance at Jeopardy. And if you haven't checked that story out, you need to go look. Becky Lynch shows up, and Becky Lynch is now involved in War Games, siding with Bianca, Charlotte, and Shotzi. Mind you, Becky is a Monday Night Raw wrestler. So I think, again, gives you stake. If you are a Monday Night Raw watcher and that's all you watch, that's the only thing you're tuning in for, and you're a huge fan of Becky Lynch, because why wouldn't you be? Now you've got some stake in this game. Now you've got a little bit. A couple of things, though, I want to get your opinion on. One, Damage Control and their story that they've got with Bayley being on the outs. There was a part where they were walking to the ring, and I thought to myself out loud, I said, it really feels like Io is now the leader of this group. It really feels like Io is the one that runs everything, and she is the hand. Bayley thinks she runs stuff and thinks she's the leader, but she is not. It is now Io's group. Also, watching this, Io, Asuka, and Kairi Sane have a look, and they look totally badass standing next to each other. You can fit what's her nuts in there with the knee brace, but when Bayley gets involved in it, it looks a little bit off. It's like Bayley doesn't fit with this group. Bayley does not look like she's cohesive with this group. So I like the story that we've got going on with Bayley being the odd woman out. I think something may happen at War Games where they turn on Bayley a little bit, but I also enjoy the fact that Becky Lynch is now part of this group. I think this is awesome. So what are your thoughts on the story with Damage Control and Bayley? And then what are your thoughts on Becky Lynch joining this group? And what are your thoughts on the historic appearance of Becky Lynch on Jeopardy? Not getting one answer right. And they felt so bad for her that it gave her $500 to go to Final Jeopardy.
Oh, my God. I watched that live, and I was like, what the hell's going on?
It's Celebrity Jeopardy. The questions are pretty easy.
I never, ever am sitting in front of the TV at 7:30. Never. Whenever it airs 7:30, I'm never watching it. All of a sudden, I'm just sitting down, hanging out with the family, the kids, and all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute. Is that the dude from Home Alone? Is that Becky Lynch? Because I didn't have my glasses on. I'm kind of like just almost like so exhausted from the day. And I'm like, oh, this Becky Lynch, and she's got negative money. And I'm like, this is kind of funny. And then she starts rattling off wrong answer after wrong answer, and she's talking about how she needed to flick her finger to get time. I'm like, no, stop answering questions. And a historic run, she literally did not answer a single question correctly. It was funny. I don't know why I took pleasure in that. It's just funny because it's so unusual. Like, they don't make it that hard. So, it was funny. It's a good bit. She obviously will play it off well. Something that I hope one day another female star brings up how dumb she is, and it's going to be funny the way in which you can play that off. God, man. Damage Control, what doesn't look like the others? Are you trying to say that the American doesn't belong in the group? When I saw that photo, when WWE posted the awesome entrance of them, I was like, see, this is what I thought about last week. There's, all these, there's like a big, huge collection of, foreign women. And then there's Bayley. So, yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're going to turn. It makes sense in that she doesn't belong.
You know what sucks? You know what sucks about Damage Control?
What's that?
Is if one of the three of them could speak better English.
Yeah,
like, honestly,
yeah.
if one of the three
They
of
need
them.
a mouthpiece.
Like if you. Yeah, exactly. If you if you had who was the guy who was the mouthpiece for all of the foreign wrestlers in WWE when we were kids? He was the Asian guy.
Mr. Fuji.
I think he had the mist.
Mr.
Too.
Fuji.
Yeah, Mr. Fuji. Yeah. If you had a Mr. Fuji, it would legit. It would work so much better, right?
Right, exactly. And look, they look cool together. It does have a little feel of the NWO, a little bloated. But, I think that they're going to break off. Maybe they won't call it Damage Control. It does have the feel that, okay, they can do something with this group, a bunch of these women looking to take things moving forward. And it's going to be fun to see in which way Bayley now, does she become more sympathetic? Does the crowd accept that? And how this plays out moving forward. It's intrigue. It's very much so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. And we'll see if it happens at War Games, because it kind of has the feel like this is on some rocky ground. And these women in this group could turn on her very, very quickly. All in all, I thought Monday Night Raw was very good. I thought SmackDown was very good. I thought we moved along the main meat and potatoes, the main storylines that had to be moved along. We helped push them along, and we gave them a little bit of life. And you are getting now excited for what is set to take place next weekend. Anything else from Monday Night Raw or anything else from SmackDown that really caught your eye that you just kind of fell in love with and that you wanted to talk about or that you absolutely hated?
No, I thought everything was good. You absolutely said it. Wrapped it up very well, I thought. But, obviously the situation with Charlotte is going to be interesting, with Bianca and stuff like that moving forward. I'm definitely curious about the women and how they're evolving. Obviously, Kevin Owens and his situation is continuing to grow on SmackDown. I definitely love the heels that are going to be upcoming with Grayson Waller on SmackDown. And the elevation of those characters, and obviously the Miz is doing his thing, and cause we do have to give credit, and it'll be interesting because it will tie into the talk of WWE pursuing a major foreign New Japan star, because typically New Japan doesn't want to send their stars over to WWE because they end up kind of being treated like Tozawa. But bro, the shit that he's doing is funny. And the shit that he's doing with the belts and his appearance, it's in a weird way, because I kind of feel like that's kind of how my dream run would go in WWE. I'm super excited. I do all the work. I build up a name in the indie scene. I get to WWE, and all of a sudden they're like, put on the hijab and dance for me and make jokes or be a terrorist. And I'm like, no, or take it, or take all the jokes, or be Tozawa now is known for his shimmying, and it's a caricature, but he's getting his ass on TV. So there's a benefit to that. We all know him. We all laugh at him. But in the end, it does show that he's got confidence in himself, that he can go out there and be the butt of a joke, because he's going to get paid. He's going to get TV time. He's part of a group. It's in the end, it's not what I would want. I'd want to be more like looked at like Seth Rollins or a Will Ospreay or a Bret Hart, not like a caricature. But in the end, it's a gimmick, and I just hope that Shinsuke Nakamura, I think, is starting to break that mold in regards to getting good storylines, and hopefully that will encourage big-time wrestlers, because if you land who I think we're going to potentially land, WWE is going to be in a good shape moving forward. But I think Tozawa is entertaining, and I like to see what he does when he shows up on the screen.
Yeah, and look, this is going to have some crossover with what we're going to talk about here in a second with AEW, but you look at what's going on with Damage Control, and this goes back to that storyline. You've got Charlotte, you've got Becky, you have, when Bayley gets kicked out of Damage Control, you've got 3 of the original 4 horsewomen.
Yeah.
There could be the possibility, because Mercedes Moné, a.k.a. Sasha Banks, has been very vocal about where she's going to end up next online. She's basically has said, look, I'm going to be wrestling. It won't be in New Japan. It's going to be somewhere in the United States. So
of course,
if it's going to be somewhere in the United States, it really, she is at such a level, it really only narrows it down to the big 2, and that's WWE, AEW. So do we maybe get that 4 horsewoman run that we were thinking of back in the day?
Oh.
The one where you had Becky, Charlotte, you had Bayley, and you had Sasha Banks taking on Ronda Rousey, Marina Shafir, Baszler, and I can't remember the other girl's name. She no longer wrestles in WWE, but it was supposed to be the 4 horsewomen of wrestling versus the 4 horsewomen of MMA, and we never quite got it. Do you come back and do you maybe start a faction with the 4 horsewomen, and you kind of let them butt heads with Damage Control? I mean, I feel like that would be an incredibly interesting storyline that could really help elevate everyone, because obviously Charlotte, Bayley, Becky, and Sasha Banks are established. They're over. This is a great way to get a younger group over, to get these different women over. Because if you know anything about international wrestling, anything about what goes on with New Japan, anything that goes on with Stardom, anything that goes on with the women, Kairi Sane, Asuka, and Io Sky were all savage animals over there. They were all looked at kind of like how we look at Becky and Charlotte and Bayley and Sasha. Like, that's how they were looked at over there. They were the cream of the crop. And there's this real interesting video on YouTube, and I recommend everybody go watch it. I can find it and tweet it out. But it basically talks about Asuka's rise in Japan, and then kind of her last match before she came over to WWE, where she got absolutely beat up physically and legitimately by a man in the ring. And I'm not for intergender matches. I think they're kind of gross. But she legit got herself worked over in a match, and it was like so much so that she got knocked out, and like the ref had to like check on things, and she set it all up, and she told the ref, if I get knocked out, I get knocked out. Like she was down for it, but it was very, very interesting, and it helped rise her to such a level in Japan. She ends up leaving Japan, comes here, and she goes on a historic run in NXT, only to get moved up to the main roster where she is fed to Charlotte Flair, which was incredibly frustrating. But I digress. Something to watch. That's all I'm saying. I'm putting it out there. It's very long-winded. Something to watch. We'll see what takes place. Let's talk about AEW. Look, we've got Full Gear coming up. We're going to get into our Full Gear predictions in a moment, but there was a lot that took place. You ended up getting Collision, followed immediately by Rampage on Friday night. You had a really good Dynamite. So you got 5 hours of wrestling from AEW this week. And we've kind of talked a little bit about the devil. As much as this would pain me, and as much as this would make me upset, I think this would be an awesome surprise, and I think this would be fantastic. I don't necessarily want to see this man ever wrestle again because I'm tired of his antics. I know this would get you incredibly excited if this was the case. But how surprised, how shocked, and really, how cool of a story would it be if CM Punk turned out to be the devil? I'm anticipating we are going to find out who the devil is on Saturday night at Full Gear. How cool would it be, and how surprising and shocked would you be if CM Punk turned out to be the guy behind the mask? To me, it would be the biggest ruse and the biggest misdirection storyline I think we've ever been a part of.
Yeah, it would be legendary. It would be something where you recognize, oh, they set this up in a way that was truly spectacular, truly special, to truly make everybody believe that CM Punk was the worst person in the company. And then you could finish off a bunch of stories. You could make money with the Young Bucks, Adam Page, Jack Perry, who hasn't been on television or not.
Well, that was the other guy. That was where I was going to go after you got done talking.
Yeah.
Or it could be Jack Perry, right?
Yeah, it could be Jack Perry.
We haven't seen Jack Perry in forever.
Exactly.
It could be Jack Perry.
So there's a lot of rumors regarding who it could be. If it's CM, I just don't think so. I think the legit nature of what we saw, I just think that it's just too much. I could not imagine them pulling it off and not having it be spoiled or talked about or anything like that. I think that the rumors are heating up again. People want to see that. They want to believe that a company would not really eat its own or do something that would just a character that just really is a popular figure, has good merchandise sales, but can't get along with the boys. That's really weird in 2023, especially in an age when you can print money and have your biggest characters be on TV. I think it would be great. It'd be one of the instantly top two storylines booking decisions ever made would be to go down this road, because it's months and months and months and months and months, and then you would instantly you'd have to have it where the devil costs MJF the title. That's the only way I would like it, is if the devil is a major figure and has a major play in the guy with the longest reign in AEW losing his title belt. So I'm curious to see if the guy free agent signing potentially that's being talked about is it. I don't know if he fits the body type, because the body type seemed like a skinny dude. So I think the body type feels more like Jack Perry than anything else. But you can easily deploy that, this week. I mean, I know people will compare, and the photos are there. But I can't wait to see it, man. I'm getting excited for tonight. Really, I can't wait to see if they unleash the devil tonight.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it happens. I think you get this might be some of the interference that you get in the MJF match. It'll be fun to kind of see. If not, you get a really nice story continuation in the following week.
I do have one outside the box. I wish it didn't happen. If he wasn't injured, I think in the age-old annals of wrestling, Adam Cole being the devil would be really spectacular, being that they were friends, being that MJF maybe started to trust his boy a little bit. But that injury kind of threw a wrench into everything. If they don't reveal it, you might maybe turn the page and wait it out and have the devil be Adam Cole, because he's like, look, I'm not a second fiddle to nobody in this company, and I don't give a shit about you and our friendship. MJF, and I think that would really invigorate the feud and really make MJF have a personal crisis. Like, man, I knew not to trust people, and I let you in, and we were close, and we won titles together. All that could be told again. You could rehash all those crazy vignettes that they did in the coming months. I think that would be a 2024 feud that could last for a long time. You could have a series of matches for months.
So before he got hurt, that was the original direction I thought we were going. I thought Adam Cole was going to be the devil. Then he got hurt. So I don't know if maybe they put it on the shelf and they wait till he's better, or if they just kind of did a full pivot and now it is somebody else. But I like where your head's at. I think that is good. I think that's fun booking. I think that's interesting. I think it adds depth to a guy like CM Punk, and it shows a different side of a guy like Adam Cole. So you get to kind of peel back those layers on two guys who are big deals in AEW. And I think it's great booking if that was the case. We'll see what happens, though. I do want to make a comment on the Hangman Page and the Swerve Strickland promo.
Sure.
I thought this was fantastic. I think the Hangman Swerve back and forth, what we've had going on, has been some of the best work that Hangman has done, and has been some of the most interesting work that Swerve has done. I also think that it's awesome when you see a babyface pull a smart babyface move and acts in a ruthless manner, because you don't get to see it. Usually babyfaces are portrayed as dumb, a little bit slow. They've got to do everything the right way, which ends up hurting them in the end. In this case, Hangman gets in the ring and cuts just a savage promo on Swerve. And then he cuts a savage promo on Prince Nana and basically says, look, after this match, I'm going to beat your ass and I'm going to take your weed. Because he said that Prince Nana buys weed from high school kids, which I thought was funny. And what you end up having happen is there's a stipulation where these two cannot touch each other. If they touch each other, they are suspended until after Christmas. So Hangman uses this to his advantage because, remember, Prince Nana was also involved in Swerve Strickland breaking into Hangman's house and basically leering over his baby. So Hangman says, look, this only prevents me from hitting you, Swerve. Doesn't mean I can't beat up Prince Nana. And then goes on to whip Prince Nana's ass, and Swerve can't do anything about it. Swerve can't touch him. You can see Swerve wanting to grab him, but having to physically restrain himself from doing so. I thought this was an awesome touch. These are little things, little subtle things that are a lot of times just overlooked. This was incredibly smart. It makes him look like he's an intelligent babyface, something we don't get enough of.
Man, it was wild, right? I think it's one of the feuds that maybe we didn't want, but has turned out to be something that's real interesting in regards to these two guys that got to move forward. So I'm really intrigued by what's going to happen. Who needs to go over more?
I think at this moment in time, I think you put Swerve over in this match, and you continue this for at least the third bout, right? I think you put Swerve over, and now you have Hangman chasing Swerve. Swerve gets the upper hand. Hangman chases. I think it's a more interesting story. And then you can have Swerve, or you can have Hangman win the third match, and we go from there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more of an opinion that I think Adam Hangman Page is the bigger star. Yeah. So I think that he's always, to me, been a world champion caliber talent, and I think that both will benefit from this feud, but I'm more in line with I want Adam Hangman Page to win it all and move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be another fun match on a really stacked card. And on this stacked card, we are supposed to get a signing. This is supposed to, from the sounds of it, be a generational talent, be somebody that is monster. This could be Tony Khan, again, overhyping something that he fails to deliver on. So it'll be interesting to see who this is. I want to throw some guesses out there. I want me and you to throw at least one name out there and who we think this can be. Initially, I thought this could be Mercedes Moné. That was my first person. I was like, okay, Mercedes Moné comes in, helps strengthen that women's division. You can do a lot. She's been seen before in AEW. She's talked about working in AEW. There are some of her friends that are in AEW right now, and she would get the creativity that she wanted before she left WWE. Who do you think it could be? Who do you think could be the big signing at Full Gear? Who's somebody? Just throw a name out there.
Well, I think it's the one that everyone's talking about. I think it's Will Ospreay. I think it's a big deal. It's the biggest guy that everybody's talking about, and I think that's the name that will get the biggest pop, big star. Many people think it's a guy from WWE. I'm curious who it could be, but I think odds-on favorite is probably Will Ospreay because of the fact that he's a guy that's been kind of shopping himself around, and is a guy that I think would get everybody excited because, oh my God, all the matches that he could have that would intrigue everybody. Can't wait to see it, man. I can't wait. I think one thing that AEW does really well is when they say we got a surprise, it definitely builds up the intrigue and the interest online. It's just everything that everyone's talking about.
Yeah, for sure. The only concern I have with it being Will Ospreay is I think he's still under New Japan, under his New Japan contract until 2024, until like March of 2024. But I could be wrong. I haven't really looked into Will Ospreay's contract status, but I do know last time I checked, he was signed to New Japan. But then again, AEW New Japan have a deal, so maybe there's something that's worked out. I don't know. To me, it comes down to one of those two guys, right? I feel like if it's anybody less than one of those two, Mercedes Moné or Will Ospreay, I feel like Tony Khan has underdelivered. He oversold something and yet again fails to underdeliver. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think sometimes he does, hype it up, and then we get, the entrance, and nobody knows who it is. But no, this one's going to deliver. Pay-per-view, they deliver, is going to be huge. And especially where they debut at with who gets what. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, for sure. Are you ready to do our predictions? Because
let's go. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how you think this is going to go down.
We've got 10 matches. For those who don't know, we keep track of the matches and who gets the most right on a thing we call calling the card. I am 4 points behind. I've been trying to dig my way out of the basement for months now. Let's see if I get close to it or not. Our pre-show, it's going to be MJF and a partner of his choosing. He may choose to go it alone, taking on Austin and Colton Gunn. Who do you think wins the ROH World Tag Team Champions?
Gun Club, baby. Bang Bang Club. You can't. They're over. They're the biggest. They got to have gold, in my opinion.
I think they are a really fun group. I think they're really, really interesting. I'm going to go with MJF. I think he retains. I think it continues his story, his long dominance. I think maybe he ends up deciding to take Samoa Joe up on this offer and then give Samoa Joe a chance at his championship. If he is able to retain over Jay White. I'm going to go MJF and to be determined for this one. We ended up getting a match on Collision on Friday night. Buddy Matthews taking on Claudio Castagnoli. I'm assuming this is probably going to be another pre-show match. I'm not sure if this is going to make the card. This is a very stacked card. I believe it is 10 matches long. Who do you have winning, Buddy Matthews or Claudio?
I think Claudio's the bigger dude, the bigger star, and I know House of Black is doing their thing, but no, Claudio is in the bigger group, and he needs the rub of getting his shit over.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Claudio as well. To me, it really feels like at this moment in time, Buddy Matthews is kind of on the outs with management. I'm not sure. I mean, he has said some things at times. You haven't really seen Buddy Matthews in a while. And then he now is put into a match with Claudio. I think this is going to be a great match. I think both these guys can really tear the house down. So I think it's going to be fantastic, but I think Claudio comes away the winner. We've got our TBS Championship. We've got Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, Sky Blue. And really and truly, this match feels like it is a bit of a coin flip. This match really feels like any one of these women could win this. Who do you have winning this? Does Chris Statlander retain, or do we get Julia Hart or Sky Blue walking away as the TBS champ?
No, I think Statlander, man, the more you see her, the better I think she's been getting, man. I think that she looks the part. So I would let her retain. I think she's starting to emerge as somebody that you want to pay attention to when she's on the screen.
So I think Statlander retains as well, but I would not be surprised if Julia Hart was to come away the winner. Julia Hart has gotten remarkably better as her character has kind of evolved, as she's kind of grown. Her matches are very crisp. She is very good in the ring, and she's only getting better. Sky Blue is still, to me, she's an interesting character. I think she has some good matches. I think she has some sloppy matches. It really depends on who she's working with. Chris Statlander is an all-around pro, though. I think Chris Statlander retains. At some point, though, I think Chris Statlander is going to have to drop that title, or they're going to have to do something to really make her run a little bit more interesting with that belt. We next have our Texas Death Match. Adam Hangman Page taking on Swerve Strickland. I think we both agree Swerve's winning this one, right?
Absolutely, baby. Swerve Strickland.
All right, so I got us both down for Swerve. We then have the Golden Jets versus the Young Bucks. The Golden Jets are Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. There is a stipulation where if the Golden Jets win this match, they get the Young Bucks tag team opportunity. If the Young Bucks win this match, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho can no longer hang out. Young Bucks have seemingly gone back to their heel tactics. That was something that we got on Dynamite this week. This looks like the Young Bucks of old. With all that being said, I think it might be a more interesting story if the Golden Jets win this match. So I'm going to go with the Golden Jets winning this match.
I agree. I think that they both have more to give in their story because you could see them revert back to a feud that they've obviously rekindled in New Japan. But right now, it's time for them to kind of grow as a team, and I think they work together to get the job done.
All right, we then have an AEW World Tag Team Championship ladder match. You got Big Bill and Ricky Starks defending against Brody King, Malachi Black, Dralistico, and Roosh, and FTR. This stipulation was added on Friday. Bro, I have no idea who wins this match. I want to say FTR because I feel like those belts look so damn good on FTR, but do you maybe give them to Brody King and Malachi Black, let them get a run as AEW World Tag Team Champs, and then maybe use the rules that New Day would use, where any one of the three in the House of Black can defend the belts at any time? I think that could be interesting. Or do you maybe give it to Dralistico and Roosh? I don't know. Or do we have a continuation of a story with Big Bill and Ricky Starks? I think when in doubt, pick the best team. I'm going to go FTR for this one.
Okay, could get myself in a hole. I think the champs retain. I think their run, has been a little been a little early, so I don't think you take it off them yet. I believe them as tag team contenders. I think they're really solid together. Big Bill deserves this run, and it shouldn't be a month. I think Ricky Starks and Big Bill deserve a nice, healthy run with these titles. And if they do end up losing the title, I just think it diminishes what the value of those titles are because they've been flipping hands so quickly over the last few months.
Yeah, and look, if it wasn't FTR, it was going to be Big Bill, Ricky Starks for me. So I think it's a solid pick by you. I think that is a really smart pick. I think you really can't lose any way you cut this, though. It is a ladder match, so makes it a little bit different. We'll see what takes place. We've got the AEW International Championship. We've got Orange Cassidy defending against Jon Moxley. How do you see this one how do you see this one playing out? Orange Cassidy punched Jon Moxley with the orange punch, and Jon Moxley basically no-sold it. Said, it's not going to work on me. I'm too strong. I'm too tough. Does that limit what Orange Cassidy can do?
It's tough too, right? This one's probably the toughest decision for me. Moxley's always worthy of a title, but you can't have Orange Cassidy get that belt back only to drop it again. That would really be corny going back and forth with that title. I think Orange Cassidy retains.
I think you're in a position where you can really help establish Orange Cassidy, really help establish what he means to that international championship belt. I think putting the belt back on Jon Moxley would do a bit of a disservice to Orange Cassidy and do a bit of a disservice to that belt. I think Orange Cassidy comes out the winner. I think he figures something out to beat Moxley. I think the no-sell of the orange punch forces Orange Cassidy to go into the back and start tinkering around with some of his moves and really figuring out a way to amplify the damage he can do with his finishing move. We then have a trios match. We've got Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, and Sting taking on Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. I think you've got Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, and Sting winning this match.
No doubt. That's the one I started and said, okay, this is an easy pick. No doubt, baby. Sting gets a lot of wins in his retirement tour.
That's kind of how I feel as well. We then have the AEW Women's World Championship as we're starting to close down our picks here. Hikaru Shida defending against Toni Storm. How do you see this one playing out?
Man, because it's been underrated. We haven't talked about it a lot. I like the black and white Toni Storm. I think the vignettes have been classy. They've been fun. They're unique. I thought that the idea of making her this old, kind of old movie star figure has been really interesting. Again, I do feel like there's going to be some changes, and I do think that potentially, see, that's just tough too because, the chase and stuff like that, it feels like there's a way where, Toni Storm loses, but she gets mad and beats up the champ. But I just feel like Toni Storm is the bigger star. They keep going back and forth. She does. See, it's tough because I have literally 50-50. I think the best thing for business, I would not be surprised if Toni Storm wins, but I think the champ wins, but Toni Storm gets over in that she beats her ass and she showcases her anger and frustration and having this unjust thing happen. I think the champ retains, but I would not be surprised if Toni Storm wins it.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Sheeta retained, but I think Toni Storm wins this, and I think Mariah May, the new signing that AEW had from New Japan, I think she plays a part in this story. I think she comes out and she fangirls and she distracts Sheeta and she gets involved in this match enough to help Toni Storm win it. And I think Toni Storm ends up walking away the winner in this match. Next, and finally, we've got the AEW World Championship. We start with MJF, we end with MJF. MJF taking on Jay White. If MJF wins this, it will mark 365 days, I believe, that he has been champion. It'll be 1 year since he's won this belt. He won it 1 year ago at this same exact pay-per-view. Does MJF retain his belt over Jay White and finally get the Triple B back?
Yeah, I mean, that's the story, right? I can't see. Here's the thing. In my mind, it always happens where the guy I want, the AJ Styles, the big-time star, I want Jay White to win, period. I want him. He is a legit star. You could see him feuding with Will Ospreay. You could see him feuding with the others. But it just is right now the biggest star in the company. If I'm going to take the loss, it's not going to be on this one. I think MJF, obviously, clearly, if they hadn't done it where Jay White had the belt on him for the last month, I could see it. But now, looking at how it's all going to play out, I think MJF wins it, and then the devil comes out and reveals himself, or the devil tries to cost MJF the title and ends up failing in their efforts. But what a perfect way to debut the devil. MJF is celebrating, hand on his back after a tough 25-minute match. Jay White looks like a star, loses, then the devil comes out and just destroys MJF, and we kick it off now, whoever it may be. So MJF is going to win it. I just don't see the time being where I can't feel, I'm going off of my feel. I don't feel like it's time to end the run of MJF.
For sure. And from this, one of us will definitely be getting the point. We've got too many different to split anything. ROH World Tag Team Championship. This is taking place in the pre-show. You've got Austin and Colton Gunn winning. I've got MJF and whomever his tag team partner being retaining. In a singles match, you've got Buddy Matthews versus Claudio. We both have Claudio. For the TBS Championship, we both have Chris Statlander. I could see Julia Hart winning this, though. In the Texas Death Match, we both have Swerve Strickland beating Hangman Page. We both have the Golden Jets taking on the Young Bucks. In the World Tag Team Championship ladder match, you've got Big Bill and Ricky Starks retaining. I've got FTR dethroning. In the AEW International Championship match, we both have Orange Cassidy. We both have Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, and Sting defeating Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. And then in the Women's World Championship, you've got Sheeta retaining. I've got Toni Storm winning. You could see Toni Storm winning this match, though. And finally, we both have MJF winning. Hopefully, I close that gap a little bit and I shrink it from 4 to 3. These are always very interesting when we can go back and forth and kind of trade blows a little bit and give each other a little bit of a headache. Right now, you've got such a immense lead. I know it's only 4 points, but it is still a lot to overcome. Quickly, before we get to news and notes, what was your show of the week? What did you like the most?
I thought Raw did its job, man. I thought Raw was really spectacular. I thought it's been kicking ass, and it's obviously with Drew McIntyre having a prominent decision with his character. I thought Raw was the show of the week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Raw was fantastic. I thought it really kind of helped solidify what we're doing and where we're going. I thought it was a very, very good show. You ready for some news and notes?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. Before you get to it, I hope it's a big night for the Bang Bang Gang. I feel like they're a faction that really is starting to look special. And the feud with MJF, I think, is perfect for Jay White, whatever happens. And hopefully, if Jay White loses, you got to put the belt on the other guys. Otherwise, they start to be irrelevant. You got to have some gold on these guys. And I think it's going to be great. Great pay-per-view. I'm excited for it. Can't wait to recap it. Next Saturday's show is going to be legit long because of recaps and previews. It's going to be great. Can't wait to see it. Because hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. It's chock full of rumors and new additions and signings and acquisitions. I can't wait to hear it.
All right, a major AEW name has left New Japan. New Japan announced that Kevin Kelly, the English voice of New Japan broadcast since King of Pro Wrestling 2015, has departed New Japan to pursue outside opportunities. Kelly was originally planned to join the English broadcast for Wrestle Kingdom 18 on January 4th, but will be unable to attend due to family commitments. Currently, Kelly is still listed as working for AEW. A major WWE star will be sidelined for almost 2 months. Rey Mysterio shared a picture of his Facebook page revealing that he just had surgery on his right knee. In an update from House of Wrestling, Mysterio has been working through a torn meniscus for around 3 months, which has slowly worsened. Rey is expected to be out of action for around 6 to 8 weeks, with him likely to be cleared for a return in January. When he comes back, expect to relive that rivalry between Santos Escobar, who is doing a really good job of running Rey down. It sounds like it will be a battle for usage of the LWO name. Sounds like Carlito and Rey will be together, and we're not sure who's going to side with Santos. This AEW star introduced his new baby on Tuesday, November 14th. Brian Cage announced the birth of his third child. In an interesting Twitter post, he praised his wife and hyped his match on Dynamite. We send our congratulations and best wishes to Brian Cage and Melissa Santos as they welcome their newest baby. This is his third. On Thursday, November 16th, WWE announced that it was going overseas for another pay-per-view. WWE officially announced that the Backlash Premium Live event for 2024 will take place in Lyon, Diciens, France. It will be the first ever pay-per-view in France and will take place on Saturday, May 4th. And it's something that I didn't realize because I thought it had already happened, but I guess it didn't. Tony Khan announced that Kota Ibushi is All Elite after Dynamite on Wednesday. I thought that was already done, but I guess not. And finally, WWE has interest in this major New Japan star. There's talk that WWE has a renewed interest in New Japan Pro Wrestling star Kazuchika Okada under the Triple H-led talent and creative regime. Okada is signed to New Japan Wrestling and has been a fixture in the company on his current run since 2011, having previously worked for them from 2007 to 2010 with a brief stint in TNA in between. Dave Meltzer said, "We've heard some talks of the late regarding Kazuchika Okada. Obviously, they have had an interest in him for years, but he's always been loyal to New Japan. The pitch is that he's now 36 and he's close with Nakamura, and Nakamura has been working for years in WWE, and it's far easier on his body. The idea is that WWE is the one thing Okada has never done, and he has done everything he can do in New Japan." One person who knows about the buzz surrounding Okada and knows about the renewed interest said that one of the reasons Nakamura is getting this renewed push is to show Okada that this regime is not going to treat Japanese wrestlers like the stereotypical children-like role, even though Tozawa is currently playing that role, because Vince is not the one in creative. Vince is not the one making the decisions, and Vince generally didn't like it if you didn't speak English. So you kind of see what they're doing with Nakamura, where they're allowing him to speak in Japanese and put the subtitles, and it kind of adds a bit of mystique to him. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens and if Okada ends up in WWE. And that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes.
Absolutely. Could you imagine Okada, Nakamura? They kind of walk over to Tozawa and say, "Knock it off," slap him in the face, and tell him to stop acting like a clown. And you have a faction of those three individuals taking over. Oh my goodness! And you could just start this revolution, and then you could just have them all of a sudden. You have an opportunity to really look at it and say damage control on SmackDown, the new faction. Could you imagine the coin drop at the Royal Rumble? I would have loved it if it was Will Ospreay. We've all known that if you hear this podcast. But the coin drop and you have Okada in Tampa Bay, you got to sprinkle it because maybe the Tampa crowd might not know who it is. You want to have a big reaction. So maybe you save it for a more you save his debut for WrestleMania in Philadelphia. Maybe you have him debut there because the crowd, everybody that's at WrestleMania that week is an international fan and knows everything about what's going on. But man, Okada and WWE would have a nice, probably a good 5-year run and have an opportunity to have some great matches. Okada, Seth Rollins. Could you imagine Okada? Just AJ Styles. There's all the matches that you could have with Okada in it would be amazing. Oh my God, it'd be great. So we'll see if it actually works out and how Shinsuke, because his promo got people talking too, where he's like, kind of saying, okay, I'm going to wait for, my decision on you and wait in the weeds until I find your weakest moment. Everybody's like, who's he talking about? I thought it was just naturally Seth Rollins, but
yeah,
we'll see who it is. It could be Okada. Oh my God, Okada, the Rainmaker. Oh my God. It would be great. It would be definitely something to see. It would be unique to start seeing New Japan stars show up in WWE, because I think from Shinsuke on, you just haven't really seen that migration. It's been, AEW has been stealing all the talent.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. It's been one of those things where you really haven't seen this massive influx of Japanese wrestlers coming into WWE. If you could score Okada, that is massive. That is absolutely massive.
Man, make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. You can see all the fun memes we post in the real world of Detroit sports and the world of wrestling. Check out our likes. They recently had someone posted the anniversary of Psycho Sid. Dude, it was really sweet. They got to bring that back. If you go to the likes, you'll see it. Sid had a match against, I think, Shawn Michaels. And when he went up to the the crowd was just quiet enough with the audio where you could hear the menacing sound of his intro music. He walks into the ring. He's badass. He's supposed to be the heel. He gets cheered, and then he walks up, and they have Sid like in lights, and it like flares up like sparklers, and it has SID. It's a badass entrance. Check it out if you want to have a blast from the past. It's really cool, the visual of Sid on the apron and his name lighting up in sparklers. It was really cool. And definitely we love professional wrestling, even though some people may clown us for having wrestling belts and stuff like that. Too effing bad. We're fans of professional wrestling since childhood. We do a podcast about it, and we enjoy it each and every week. We watch the shows, we debate it, and feel free to hop in if you like it or don't like it. We love to hear your takes. Shout out to Danny Bennett, guy locally who's been a blogger and covered Detroit sports. Definitely a big wrestling fan, has been messaging me on the side, just talking about his thoughts on angles, and real creative individual. Definitely is, I believe, a listener of our podcast. So shout out, Danny. If you're listening, we appreciate it. Thanks for the messages. They're real interesting. You have a unique perspective as well. Can't wait, cuz, for next week's episode where we break down everything that happened. Please let me just take the lead and come home safe and clear. Can't wait as we review Full Gear. We preview War Games. Can't wait to talk to Adam next week on the latest and greatest edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.